Hey everyone, I am in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So Baton Rouge is the state's capital. Its city's about 220,000 people. We're on the eastern banks of the Mississippi River, and I'm going to show you some of the cultural and culinary highlights of this city.
In this video, we'll explore the architecture and history of Louisiana's capital city, from the old governor's mansion to the old state capitol and the current one. We'll explore the controversial history of Huey P. Long before exploring the food scene, from the overpass district to some of the downtown restaurants that you need to try. We'll try Louisiana classics like gumbo and different seafood before showing you where to buy meat that you will not find in your average grocery store. So come along and let's explore Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
So the airport is BTR. We're about 20 minutes from downtown. Coming from the New York City area, there are no directs. You can get a direct from Washington, D.C., but I ended up using LaGuardia, stopping in Atlanta via Delta. So for the size of this airport, it's definitely one of the more interesting ones I've been to. Here's a little exhibit showing which movies were filmed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Dukes of Hazzard, I didn't know about that one. As I'm waiting for my bag, I'm checking out this exhibit on Huey P. Long. So when I was a young boy, I knew two things about Louisiana. New Orleans was there and Huey P. Long was from there. Now, if you're looking to start your day at a coffee shop, Coffee Call is a good place to do it. So they have the famous Louisiana beignets. Now, these are the larger ones that you're more likely to see in New Orleans, but since we're in Baton Rouge, I want to try the Baton Rouge style beignets. So these are also known as beignet fingers. So I'm just going to take one here and see it's like kind of long, like a finger. And another suggestion, you see all this powdered sugar. That's why you should wear white when you come here. And while most places have salt and pepper on the table, they have more powdered sugar on the table, but you don't really need it. And if you want to enjoy this coffee at home, or if you want to make your own beignets, this is the shelf for you. But if you find yourself in Mid-City and you're looking for a coffee shop there, French Truck is a popular spot. This is the only Baton Rouge location. The roasting is done right on site, and I'm having a cortado. For some of the best views in downtown Baton Rouge, head up to the 4th floor of the public library. So behind me you could see the old state capitol, which Mark Twain referred to as the ugliest building he'd ever seen. Then that's the new Mississippi Bridge, and then the crest, which is the circular object, I guess you could call it. That serves as a stage during some summer music festivals, and it's also a nice area to walk. So this is the little greenway between the old state capitol and the Baton Rouge Public Library. And the library's 4th floor patio also has this nice little garden. Now this architecture style was known as castellated Gothic, and here this is supposed to be a recreation of the governor's office. So the exhibits on both floors are free. The only charge is if you want to watch the movie. So here's a bronze statue, and then you can see the different flags. And then here's a fun fact. Louisiana hosted the last World's Fair, New Orleans, 1984. Huey P. Long was the most controversial and the most well-known political figure to ever come out of Louisiana. So here's a little screen where you could decide if you would be pro-Long or anti-Long. Now, I did learn about him in high school, but I've forgotten a lot of it, and I have not seen, I believe, the movie's Kingfish yet, so I'm just going to say pro-Long for the sake of the exhibit.
The only way by which we can ever bring this country out is to redistribute the wealth.
And apparently FDR was no fan of Huey Long. So the room is divided in two by paint because Huey Long was a controversial figure and people were very divided in their opinions of him. And this statue is much larger than life. Huey Long's story did not have a happy ending. He was shot by Dr. Carl Weiss. And the gun that he shot him with that eventually cost him his life is right here on display. This is the original gun. Now, if you're looking to have more than beignets and coffee for breakfast, Zeeland Street in the Garden District is a popular place to come. It's been around since the 90s, so it's kind of known for a lot of heavy Southern cooking. I am having the salad with some brisket. So there are a couple different brisket options on the menu. I'm having the special smoked brisket today. So the brisket has definitely a smoky flavor. It's on the drier side as well, but it's also not overly fatty, which I usually don't like. This is the old governor's mansion, and if you're wondering why this might look a bit like the White House, that's because then Governor Huey P. Long designed this to look like the White House because that was what he intended to be his address at some point. Now, the old governor's mansion is available for free tours. And as you might expect from looking outside, it's pretty spacious, pretty grandiose for its day. High ceilings. Now, Huey P. Long was the first governor to occupy the old governor's mansion, and he was here from 1928 to 1932. This continued to be used until 1956, after which it was moved to its new location. And here, leave a comment. Have you ever used an old-fashioned typewriter, anything like this? And upstairs, there's the Huey P. Long bedroom. So check out the fashion of the day. A top hat, a cane, even though he had no mobility issues that we know of. There's a portrait above the piano. And this is the bed that Huey P. Long slept in when he was governor. Poor Boy Lloyd's is the oldest restaurant in downtown Baton Rouge. So you have po' boy sandwiches here, but you also have some other stuff, which I am going to start with this gumbo. So no pork in this one, just little shrimp. And then there's also a little crab claw in here. All right, the gumbo, it's a little bit peppery. It definitely gets some of the crab flavor. But you know, you mostly notice the shrimp. But when I think of Louisiana, I really think of crawfish. So here are some fried crawfish tails. This is something I don't eat often. I usually eat this if I'm in this part of the country or if I'm making a papaya salad. Sometimes I'll use this as the protein, but as we're in the South, these are fried. All right, between the two, I definitely prefer the gumbo, but what I will say about these is I'd rather eat them this way than have to dig out a tiny bit of meat. This is 3 out of a crawfish, so very convenient. But if you do want to put the work in, here's a little manual on how to eat crawfish. But since this place is called Lloyd's Po' Boy, I couldn't come here without trying them. So these two have kind of a star next to them on the menu. This is the hot beef, and then this one here is the catfish. So I'm trying the hot beef first. You can see it's kind of soaking, the juice is kind of soaking through to the bottom. So it's served on warm, toasted French bread. Now I'm going to try the catfish. All right. I would say I prefer the catfish. Definitely like the fried, crispy catfish. And I want to mention, Lloyd's was on an episode of Restaurant Recovery a few years ago. Notable because Shaq came here. He's a LSU, Louisiana State University. He's an alumni. So he kind of helped with kind of the restoration of this place. And you know a restaurant is really important to a neighborhood when there's a mural on the side of the building. Here it is, Po' Boy Lloyd's, 1967. You could visit the state capitol in all 50 states, but Louisiana's special because you could visit the old state capitol and the new one. So I'm standing in the old state capitol, which dates back to 1850. And this here has what I'm told is like an umbrella, this pillar here. And it holds up all 4 floors plus the top. Louisiana can claim the tallest state capitol in the country at 450 feet. So I'm standing on the 27th floor observation deck, which is 350 feet high. You can see behind me the mighty, mighty Mississippi River. So the steps outside the state capitol have the states listed on them in the order in which they joined the Union. So Delaware is not number 1 despite what the license plate says. My home state, Pennsylvania, is number 10. And just take a look up, 450 feet. And the Louisiana State Capitol has the coolest exterior elevator doors I've ever seen. And the House chamber doors are pretty cool as well. That is the old Capitol. Now, as I was landing at BTR Airport, I noticed the oil refineries behind me. So I remember from my first visit to Louisiana many, many years ago that the oil comes from an area called Venice, and then I believe it's brought up the river and refined here in Baton Rouge. And this statue is Huey P. Long, and if anybody gets any ideas that they want to dig him up, that's pretty much impossible because of all the concrete that he's buried beneath. It's the back hall of the state capitol where Huey P. Long was shot. So here's a little exhibit on it. There is a timeline on the right. There are bullet holes that were left intact. This one being the most famous one right here. Watch, I'm gonna put my finger and I can almost get down to my nail here. So as the timeline indicates, he was shot the night of September 8th. He lived about a day and a half, dying at 4:06 a.m. 2 days later. So the Pentagon barracks are not quite a Pentagon because you can see what would be the 5th building is right now occupied by some trees that look like they're there to stay. But these barracks date back to the Civil War, and when House is in session, this is where many of the members stay. And then over here, this is the little garden that leads up to the Capitol building. And then when you go beyond here, you have some of the taller buildings, and then off to the left is Spanish Town, which is the oldest neighborhood in Baton Rouge, and it's where the largest Baton Rouge Mardi Gras is held. Now, as a non-legislator, I am not allowed past here, but the House chamber, this is it, and this is where people vote on important things. So if the old Mississippi Bridge looks kind of low to you, that's because Huey P. Long wanted it designed that way so the larger ships could not make it past it. They would have to come here offload, and the oil would be transported farther up the river by smaller ships. Now I'm taking a break from sitting down and eating in restaurants and exploring the local food scene that way. Now I'm going to be taking a class through Chef Celeste Gill, who's a Detroit native that does classes here in Baton Rouge. And today it's Bananas Foster.
Do a slow drizzle for me.
So what's
And
next?
it's just burning off. So after this, we got the ice cream going. We're gonna scoop it up, and it is ready to serve.
Well,
Just
thank
let
you,
it keep
Chef
going.
Celeste.
Look at that, look at that. We're gonna spread that fire around a little bit. That was about 2 ounces of alcohol to all of this here. It's gonna burn off. So that took what, maybe 20 seconds for it to burn off. So you always have to think about your visitors, your guests, and we did take some out that had no nuts. So if you have someone that is allergic to nuts, you just have to modify that Bananas Foster, okay? It's okay, but this is our Louisiana traditional Bananas Foster. You can cut your bananas small. This is easier, bite-sized. You don't need a fork to eat it with. You can just cut and go on in there. And it is as simple as that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had no idea that Bananas Foster started in 1951. It was invented in New Orleans, Louisiana, about an hour from here. I've been eating this pretty much, at least I would say, since I'm a teenager. So let's see how this compares. All right, a couple things. It has more nuts than I think I've had before. Very sweet as well. And it's also nice to eat something in Louisiana without crawfish. So a city of 200,000 people like Baton Rouge has multiple seafood stores but in many ways there is only one. It's in North Baton Rouge and it's called Tony's Seafood. It's been here since 1954. So back home when I go to a grocery store that has frozen seafood, you might have one different brand of crawfish tail meat, but here in Baton Rouge, we got 3 different options. And it's not just crawfish meat, it's crawfish pies of different shapes. You got the full size and you got the minis. And this is the hotline. People are lining up to get a plate of fish. Got a lot of different options here. You have catfish, which is a big thing in Louisiana, but then there's also garfish, which I've never heard of in my life. And how about this Lifesaver gummies next to alligator heads? Overpass Merchant is in the Overpass District, just meaning it's under an overpass. So the food menu is kind of bar food with a little bit of an Asian twist. So no Asian twist on this one. These are Wisconsin style cheese curds. I'm going to try these first. Okay, these are kind of mild for cheddar. Not quite as sharp as some cheese curds I've had in Wisconsin. And for some of the Asian influence, this is the broccoli cauliflower crunch with some chicken. So sesame, peanuts. I believe those are Szechuan peppers, which are going to add some spice to it. Not quite sure what I'm in for here with all the chilies on this, but I'll give it a try. I was a little scared. For me, this is about a 7 on a 10 scale. I don't like to go any hotter than this. And any restaurant gets second points if they have music memorabilia. Like, check out this Queen News of the World poster.
On the opposite side of the I-10 overpass, you'll find Gail's Fine Ice Cream, which is an ideal place to stop after dinner at Overpass Merchant.
Now, I've had some good mocktails during my time here in Baton Rouge, but I figured before I leave town, what I'd like to do is take a cocktail class, or in my case, a mocktail class. So I am at the Tipsy Librarian, founded by a librarian with a master's in library sciences. Her and her husband have this location in town center where they do classes. Now, if you book one of the classes as part of a group, you're gonna end up doing all cocktails, but if you have a private group, they'll adjust accordingly, and in my case, they're gonna do a mocktail. So I am having a Paloma, which I believe is normally done with tequila. And here's what I'm putting in right here. Shrub, which I believe is gonna be the base for this drink. Now the shrub replaces the tequila, but what I'm putting in right now is grapefruit juice, which is pretty bitter by itself, but I'm sure it's gonna be offset. And the bitters, habanero, jalapeno, and Thai chili lime. Now I'm pouring this over ice, and I'm topping it off with Topo Chico. Add some bubbles to it, there you go. Now, a couple other things I need to do to make this fancy looking, like something you might get in a bar. I need to kind of take a layer and get the zest off of the grapefruit. Now, I gotta do something I've never heard of doing before, express the oils. So twist this a little bit. I guess the idea is get the oils out and then put this in the drink. So hopefully that looks somewhat fancy. And then I gotta massage this rosemary, put it in this way. And here we go, a hopefully citrusy and somewhat sweet non-alcoholic Paloma. Yes to both, and I do want to say, first of all, citrus not as strong as I expected. I probably used a little too much Topo Chico, but I'm an amateur, I'm a beginner. So I will say it's got just enough sweetness and just enough bitterness from the lime. I would probably add a little bit of lime juice the next time. Now on this Baton Rouge trip, I've generally been dining at very casual places, but I decided to do something a little bit more upscale my last night, and that is Jubin's. So right here, I got a nice hot towel to wipe my hands off before dinner, and I'm gonna try a few items on the menu. All right, I'm starting with the crab lollipop. So these are crab beignets in some kind of butter. but instead of grabbing them by the handle, you grab them by this little claw. Now these are crawfish wontons, I believe stuffed with jalapeno cream cheese. Very crispy. I'm feeling a tiny bit of heat from the jalapeno, but all in all, a lot of crawfish meat in there. And just one more way to consume crawfish in Louisiana. Now, I can only have so much fried food, so I'm trying the marinated seafood salad. And I Googled sensation, and evidently, it didn't come up, but evidently this is a kind of Mediterranean vinaigrette that they do here. And the salad, of course, has crawfish in it. All right, this is more my speed. Back home, I have a couple Italian restaurants where I always order the seafood salad. And this is kind of like that. I love the sensation dressing because you could taste a little citrus in it. And also, kind of reminds me of ordering a seafood salad in Rhode Island. But there you get the scungili, and here you get the crawfish. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. I got more trips coming up soon. I'm heading to Rochester, New York before I go out to Hokkaido, Japan for the first time ever. I also have a couple trips in the works to the south, going to North Carolina. It'll be Greensboro this time, and then I'm also going to South Walton Beach in Florida. I hope you get to come to Baton Rouge and explore some of Louisiana, and I look forward to sharing more videos with you soon.